If you think interview is all about answering questions correctly, then you may be wrong. Because the truth is that interview is answering questions creatively. Now, before I start with the video, you might be wondering, who is she to guide me for this interview? So if I introduce myself, I am Jannat, a GKS 2024 undergraduate scholar from Bihar, India, and I am currently pursuing business administration at Seoul National University. Also, an additional information, I applied to the embassy track in 2024. So I think that I qualified the interview, so I think that makes me eligible to make this video and give you some special tips for acing your interview from my experience. But wait, don't skip, don't leave the video, because just like the last time, I have something very important, very impressive, very surprising waiting for you all at the end of the video, or maybe in between, so don't skip the video. So, on to the video. Interview is essential and important element of getting this GKS Global Korea Scholarship. But at what stage and at what time this interview is going to be conducted differs according to the track you're applying through, be it the embassy track or the university track. So if I talk about the embassy track, I applied through the embassy track, and in the embassy track, once you send your documents to the embassy screens your documents, and if you get selected, you are called by the embassy for going through an interview. Now, this interview is going to be offline or online depending on your nationality. The interview conducted by the embassy in India is usually online. So for me also it was online, and it's going to be conducted online essentially in the future. The interviews conducted by the embassy is going to be offline. Once you're selected in the interview, your application goes further to National Institute of International Education Department, NID, who then reviews your documents, and if you get selected, then your document passes to the third round of selection, that is to the three universities of your choice. Among the three universities, if there is any university that wants to interview you again, then they may again call you for an interview. But it does not happen always. For example, for me, none of my universities wanted to conduct another interview with me, so I directly got my decision. But there may be cases where some universities may want to conduct another interview with you before they give out their final decision. So be ready for that. But in most of the cases, for the embassy track, you're supposed to give just one interview that is conducted by the embassy. In some rare cases, you may be called again for giving another interview for the university. For the university track, you send your application directly to the university of your choice, and in that case the university is the one which will be conducting your interview. So you will be asked to give only one interview in the university track, which will be conducted by the university of your choice. If you get selected by the university, then your application goes further to NID for final selection, and then if you get selected there, you finally become a GKS scholar. In the second part, I'll be talking about special tips which I want to give you from my own experience, and you're not going to find it anywhere else on YouTube. Stand out from the crowd. So while preparing answers for the interview questions, we all aim to answer all the interview questions with utmost confidence, give right answers to all the questions, and if we are successful in doing so, we think that we have aced the interview and we gave a good interview. But that's not the case, not necessarily. Why? Because giving a good interview is not only about answering with confidence and not fumbling and giving right answers. More importantly, it's about standing out from the crowd. There will be 100 people answering the same question with utmost confidence, and even with more confidence than you. But something that can make you stand out is your creativity, is the content of your answer. So the key to preparing the best answers for the interview question is to think, to evaluate the answer. So whenever you're preparing answers to the cliche interview questions like why do you want to come to South Korea, just sit down and think. If there's this answer which comes to your mind for the first time, remember that this is the answer which most of the people are going to answer. So just cut that off, strike that off. You're not going to answer that content. You're not going to say that answer to the question, because you know out of 100 people going to give the interview, maybe 95% of people are going to answer the same thing. So you need to then sit down and think of a second answer, a third answer, and a fourth answer, and then come up with something which you know no one is going to answer, which makes you stand out. So the next advice is to be creative. Now this somewhat relates to the first tip which I gave you, but this is more specific in the sense that being creative itself is being creative, which means that it's not only being creative in your answers, you can be creative in other ways too. Like, try to think of something out of the box. For example, during my interview, I was giving my self-introduction in which I gave a reference of the Korean national flower, the mugunkwa, which is essentially the hibiscus in India, orhul, kaful. So what I did was, when I was giving my self-introduction and I was referring to the mugunkwa flower, I had that flower in my hand and I said that my mother loves these flowers because she has a lot of variety of these flowers, and I showed them like 4 or 5 colors of the flowers, and I think that impressed them. Even if it's not something very special, but that definitely made me stand out. For sure, no one else showed the Korean national flower in their interview. So think something out of the box. Also, when I'm talking about interview, I'm not just talking about showing something related to the Korean culture. You can be creative in just presenting yourself. You can present your self-introduction in the form of a story, or you can use object association to frame a beautiful story in the self-introduction part. So what's important is to do something out of the box which will make them remember you out of the 100 people they have already interviewed. Self-introduction is really important. Whenever they're taking your interview, they are going to ask you to give your self-introduction, and this is the part where you have to sell yourself. You are selling your personality in front of the interviewers. You're not selling your grades, you're not selling your skills, you're not selling anything else. What you're selling is your personality, and here you should know the business skills to sell. You should know what they want. You should not tell them what you have, I have this and I have that and everything, but you should know what they want. I'll be talking about this more in the later part of the video, but here what's important is to self-introduction is the part wherein you can show that you are a creative individual. You are something different from the crowd, and you are meant to be selected for this scholarship. So while giving your self-introduction, you can exercise a lot of different creative ways to make the interviewers more engaged in you. For example, you can introduce yourself in the form of a story narration. Now don't keep it very long, because self-introduction, all the answers have to be under like 2 minutes. So keep it short. State your self-introduction as in the form of a story narration, or you can use object association. Object association is another creative way of self-introduction which I personally like. Now if I talk about what is object association, then in this you can introduce yourself by associating yourself with a particular object. Now for example, I think my life is just like a camera, because just like the lens of the camera, I love to capture the beautiful moments when people are enjoying, but there's no one to capture my beautiful moments. Okay, this sounds very cringe because I just made it up in my mind right now, but this is what I'm talking about. You can use object association. You can associate your life to an object and then introduce your life in that sense. Another is object portrayal. When you're doing your self-introduction, you can also refer to any object which is very precious to you and make your whole life story revolve around that object. For example, a photograph of your grandmother who passed away. Now, when your grandmother passed away, that changed your personality, that had a great impact on your personality and the type of person you are today. And then you can show that picture, and then you can introduce your life story, yourself, through that picture. I think that's a very powerful way to give a self-introduction and create an impression, a lasting impression on the minds of the interviewers. And also, when I'm talking about object portrayal, then it can be any object which is very close to you. Maybe a photograph, an art piece, but something really close to you, or something which really changed you or formed a great part of your personality. Another important tip which no one else is going to give you is to insinuate, that is to show them indirectly that you know a lot about Korea and that you are an expert in the Korean field. If you've already studied a lot about Korea, let's not waste the knowledge and show them that you actually know a lot about Korea. But just don't go on spitting facts about Korea like young Sheldon, but try to show them in an indirect manner that you actually are knowledgeable about South Korean culture. For example, if they're asking you, how are you going to adjust in the Korean culture because your culture is different from ours, then go on to state some information about the Korean culture, about the specific parts of this Korean culture, use specific terminologies which you have learned, use specific historical references. In the Korean history, there was this particular king who brought in this development and which continues today in South Korean society, and I think that's very similar to our culture, so I think this will help me adjust in South Korea. So this is a way wherein you're answering in a manner that makes the interviewer think that this person knows a lot about South Korea. I think he is genuinely interested in our culture, and I think he or she can be the best candidate. Go on to show your knowledge, but not directly, indirectly, while incorporating that knowledge in an indirect manner, in a very subtle manner in all the answers which you give. So be ready for this one, because there's one thing which the interviewers hate and which the other YouTubers might not tell you. I think the interviewers hate it when people want to apply to South Korea just for the K-pop culture or the K-pop craze. Your task here is to convince them that you are not a K-pop fanboy or fangirl. Okay, even if you are, that's not the reason why you are applying to South Korea. So that's how you convince them, because at the back of the mind of the interviewers, they already are convinced that this girl applying to South Korea is applying to South Korea because he or she is interested in K-pop culture and probably not in our field of studies or development. And maybe if we give them the scholarship, maybe if we give him or her the scholarship, he or she is not going to be a great asset for our society or for us in the future. So they may not select you if they suspect that you're applying here only for the K-pop craze. Now, there's nothing wrong if you like K-pop, K-pop culture, K-pop craze, but here the task is to show them that that's not the reason why you're applying. So please refrain from stating anything related to your love for the K-pop culture. Now, you may genuinely love K-dramas, K-movies, etc., and maybe that's the reason why you want to apply. There's nothing wrong in that, but do not talk about it in the interview, because you may seem like one of those girls whom they don't want to select. Also, you may set a bad impression in the eyes of the interviewers. So try to refrain from stating anything related to South Korean K-pop culture, and also show them that you are genuinely interested in their culture because of other things. Show them that you are smart, you are actually intelligent, and you have big goals in your life, great goals in your life, and you have a set plan to achieve those goals. Now, there's one question which you will definitely be asked everywhere, every time, and also in the interview, and that is the why Korea question. Now, everyone is going to answer it. Everyone, every single person is going to answer it even in the personal statement, in the study plan, and also in the interview. So they have probably read around millions of answers to the same question. Now, how are you going to make your answer stand out of the million answers they've already read? You need to think about that. The actual reason may be your love for the Korean culture, the K-pop culture. That's totally fine, but you don't need to show that. You need to show something that makes you stand out, something that makes your answer stand out. So pay important emphasis and stress on the why Korea questions. So imagine there are two people, and one person is saying that I would like to pursue my education in South Korea because South Korea is experiencing a lot of development in the recent times, and I think it has a great potential. And then there's candidate B who says that I want to study in South Korea because it has an investment opportunity of around something $billion, and I think these companies are going to have a net worth of so and so much dollars in the future. Whom do you think knows more about South Korea? Now, both of these people said the same thing, but candidate B sounded more genuine. He sounded more knowledgeable, and it sounded like candidate B would be better because he would be able to do something better than candidate A. So it's very important how you're framing your answers. Try to include facts and statistics if you can. Now, don't memorize the numbers, but you can round up the numbers and you can always go and state some statistics and facts which can make you sound very knowledgeable and very convincing to this question. This is the point I talked about briefly earlier. You have to sell yourself like a businesswoman or a businessman. How do you sell a pen? If you are a person who sells a pen by saying, oh, okay, this pen has this nib which writes very well and the ink is really smooth and it's very stylish, but all I am looking for is a pen which is black in color. So there's no use of you trying to emphasize on the other qualities of the pen, because I just want a pen which is black. So you need to emphasize on the quality that is black. So that's how you sell yourself. You need to stress on the qualities which the interviewer wants in you. Tell them what they get from selecting you and not what you are as a person, not what you will get if they select you. Don't go and say that I want to get selected because I want to do something great in my life. They don't care if you want to do something great in your life because that's what you want. That's not what they want. You have to tell them to please select me. I want to be selected because I think you are going to gain a lot if you select me. Now you don't go and say the exact same line because that's not how you answer, but that's what you need to show. Go and search on the website what are the things in the candidate that they are looking for. Now, most probably Korea is attracting international students through these scholarships because they want their economy to grow, because as you know, the birth rate in Korea is declining year by year, and you know that the workforce, the younger workforce is going to disappear in a few years, and that's why they want international students. Maybe you can talk about how you're going to be an asset for the Korean economy, how you're going to be a good taxpayer. Now, you don't go and say that I'll be a good taxpayer, but you have to show that you're going to be a very successful person for the Korean economy, and the Korean economy is going to gain a lot from you. The government and the embassy, which is giving you the scholarship, is going to gain a lot from you. Another important tip is to end it well. Finish it in a good, subtle manner. Now, I am interested in psychology. On my channel, I also make a lot of YouTube videos on psychological topics. I also take some courses related to psychology and philosophy almost every semester. People tend to have a first impression bias and a last impression bias. That is, they tend to remember the first thing in a list of things and the last thing in a list of things the best. And they tend to forget the middle part very easily. So first impression is the last impression, which you must have heard. First impression is very important, but the last impression is equally important because that's something which is going to be written in the minds of the interviewers. So you need to end it well. At the end, the interviewers most probably are going to ask you whether you have some questions related to the scholarship or the university or something. Now, over here, don't say that, oh, I don't have any questions, thank you so much. No. Even if you don't have any questions, make questions. Now, don't go and make dumb questions. Don't go and make questions like, where is this university located or something like that. You need to ask questions, but those questions should be genuine. Those questions should be something which makes the interviewers think that, okay, this person is actually interested. And those questions should make you sound smart. Those questions should make you sound knowledgeable. And also you can end it up like, for example, I ended up my interview by wishing the interviewers Happy Navratri, because at that time the Navratri festival was going all over in India, and it was also the time of Chuseok festival in South Korea. So both the festivals were coinciding. So I tried to introduce our festival in India and try to relate it to Chuseok for explaining to them, and then I wished them Happy Navratri. I mean, it was not necessary, but I think they really liked it because it was kind of like acknowledging their culture and trying to promote my culture. So I think they really liked it. So you can also do that. You can wish them bye in your language, or anything which makes them remember you and remember your last words or your last impression. There's this last Jannat special edition tips, which is not actually very important, but you can practice it as a bonus tip. Show them that you already know basic Korean. Now, you don't have to go out of the way and learn the whole Korean language before you give the interview, because that's not possible. But try to make a list of the words which you think you are going to use somehow in the interview. So, if possible, try to use the Korean version of the word, because imagine if there's a foreigner and you're taking the interview of a foreigner, and the foreigner is giving the interview in English, and all of a sudden the foreigner says that, oh, I like the sweet dishes in India, like kheer. And so we will like that the person knows the Hindi word called kheer, and we will like if the foreigner suddenly starts speaking some words in Hindi. We'll feel very homely, and we will be very appreciative because the foreigner is trying to speak our language. So you can try to learn some of the Korean words which you think you will be using in answering some of the interview questions. Like, when I will ride the subway station, the jihajor, you can say like that. So I think you can do this to show that you're already interested in the Korean language, in their culture. The third part will consist of general tips, which we already know from our own experience, but with slight improvisation. First tip is, of course, to dress well. You have to look beautiful. You have to look pretty. Now, I'm not saying that, you are not pretty and so wear a lot of makeup. No, but I'm saying try to look pretty, try to feel pretty, try to feel beautiful, try to feel handsome, because we cannot ignore the fact, and we need to accept the truth that South Korea is actually look centric, it is beauty centric. I live in South Korea and I felt that they tend to behave very well with you, very nice with you if you look pretty. Now, it's not that they will treat you bad if you don't look good, but they're going to treat you with extra sweetness if you look pretty. So I think looks play an important role in things related to South Korea. For example, if I tell you, in South Korea, if you go for job interviews, if you submit applications for job interviews, they ask for your pictures. You need to put your pictures. Now, there has been a debate going on in South Korea, which says that interviewers tend to focus a lot on selecting candidates who look pretty or handsome. So that's the reason why there are special camera booths in South Korea which click your professional pictures in a way that makes you look pretty. They click your professional pictures and edit it with all the makeup and everything to make you look pretty. So I think Korea is a beauty-centric country. Aisa desh, waisa bhesh. You have to look confident. Now, I'm sure whenever we have to face situations like these, we feel very stressed, we are very nervous. It feels like our heart is beating so loud that it will just jump out of our chest. I felt the same way, trust me. I felt like I will faint and I will vomit. I don't know why, but whenever I'm nervous, I feel so sleepy. I keep on yawning all the times. So whatever. So even if you're feeling nervous, you have to look confident. And if I tell you one psychology, if you want to feel a particular emotion, you have to make your body adjusted to that emotion, to pretend to that emotion. For example, in psychology, there is this experiment which said that if you hold a pencil over your lips in such a way that your lips turn into a smile, then you will, after some time, start to feel happy. So if you make your body feel calm, you will be calm. If you make your body posture in a way that in shoulders up, chin upright, you will start to feel confident. There are a lot of ways you can practice before the interview. Don't need to rote learn the answers, but you need to practice them a number of times so that when you're speaking, you're confident about speaking your answers. So you can answer either in front of the mirror, and you can also record yourself while answering. You can record your answer, you can hear your own voice in the recording, and then you can adjust your tone, your pitch, and your voice in a manner that you sound more confident and more genuine, but also humble. So don't just practice in front of the mirror. If possible, try to practice in front of someone. Maybe you can use a friend, tell them to ask you questions and you answer to them. I know it's very funny when friends are interviewing you. You never tend to take them seriously and you just keep on laughing in the whole rehearsal. But I think that can still be helpful, because practicing alone in front of the mirror is a totally different experience than practicing with a person in front of you. Very important information. Know that all the people are not the same, and there may be situations when the interviewers are going to be rude. And it's okay. Be it in the university track or the embassy track, there may be interviewers who sound more rude, who sound stern, who sound strict, and it's totally fine. Don't get intimidated, don't lose your control, don't get nervous. Just think that they are like that. Tip is just to warn you. Don't think that okay, this interview was very rude, maybe he did not like me. It's not that. They just tend to be more serious during interviews to test your calmness. They want to test your stableness. They want to test the control over your emotions and things like that. So don't get intimidated. The last part will consist of some bonus tips which you must not skip, because these consist of really important information you must know before you attend the interview. There are some other important tips and information which I'm sure is going to be very helpful for you during times of interview. And also, it's a special Jannat edition, so you're not going to find it in any other YouTuber's page. So please subscribe. For the university track, there may be situations when the interviewers may start asking questions in Korean. And I know it's very intimidating, but I heard a few cases. Some of my friends who were applying for this scholarship along with me from other countries said that when they were applying, when they went for the interview through the university track, the university professors or the interviewers started asking questions in Korean, and they did not know Korean, so they were intimidated. But in this case, one thing which you can do is to just go and ask them that you don't know Korean. So I would be really grateful if you could take my interview in English. Now, why does this happen? Koreans mostly don't know English, so they are not comfortable in speaking English. They also want to take the interview in Korean, so they just want it in that way. So they start asking questions in Korean because they're not confident with their English. So because they assume that maybe the candidate wants to apply in Korea, so he or she may be knowing Korean, so that would save them from English embarrassment. But you can ask them that I'm not comfortable, I don't know Korean, so please can you take my interview in English, and they're not going to deny it. They are going to take your interview in English afterwards. But you will have to ask. Don't just like sit there and ruin your whole interview. Don't be introvert. Ask them. Another thing is that for the university track, they are going to ask you some academic questions. So if you're applying for master's or PhD or undergraduate, they may ask you some questions related to your field of study or your field of research. For example, if you're applying for business administration, they may be asking you some concepts related to business administration. So please be prepared to answer some of the academic questions as well, especially if you're applying from the university track. For the embassy track, because the interviewers are people who work in the embassy, they do not have a professional academic background as your field of study, so they may not ask you, they are not going to ask you academic questions. But for university track, the professors in charge of your interested department of study is going to probably assist the interviewer in taking the interview, so he or she may ask you some academic questions related to your field of study. Now, according to what I have analyzed, the questions asked in the university track and the questions asked in the embassy track are somewhat similar, but they are essentially different in their motive. And based on that, you can prepare your answers to satisfy those specific motives. For example, in the embassy track, the people at the embassy, the interviewers are going to ask you questions related to how will you be contributing to the South Korean nation after they select you as a GKS applicant. How are you going to prove as an asset or a boon for the nation, or how are you going to help in strengthening the ties of South Korea with your particular nation? Questions asked by the interviewers at the embassy track are more related to your contributions about the nation and the cultural exchange, the cultural relation between your country and South Korea. But the questions asked by the interviewers to the university track are going to be more focused on academics. They're going to be focused on your interested field of study. They're going to be focused on how you're going to serve as an asset for the university or for that field of study. So they're going to be academic centric. Now, just like the last time, I have a special announcement and a special offer for you this time too. Now, I get a lot of requests from you all asking me to review and give feedback on your personal statement, but considering the rigorous curriculum of my university and the number of requests which I daily get, it's essentially not possible to do that. It's really actually not possible to go and review all of the personal statements. But I have a special offer for you all. Now, considering the fact that the GKS undergraduate application season is approaching in September or October, so I'm sure you must have started preparing your applications for that thing. My special offer to you is that just like the last time, I will be selecting like 2 people among you all to review their personal statement. To be eligible to get selected for reviewing your personal statement, all you need to do is to just comment your name down below in the comment section. And I will be selecting 2 of you for giving you special feedback on your personal statement. You can be of any nationality, so it's open to all nationalities. I'm not partial, so you can be Indian, Nigerian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, all are fine. Last time I had this offer open, I got a lot of requests, and I selected one girl for reviewing her personal statement based on all the effort she put in to go and comment on all my videos. Really sweet of her. And I reviewed her personal statement, gave her the feedback, and it was good to know that she was able to pass the document screening round. If you also want to get your personal statements reviewed by me, then please go down and comment on my video. Comment your pretty names down below the video, and I'll be selecting two of you to get the review done. You have time till 30th of July, so please be quick. And also subscribe to my channel, because for getting the updates about who got selected, you need to be notified. So please subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon, and thank you so much for your support, for helping me get this channel monetized.